Hey friends, welcome back to my channel Organized with Joy, and welcome to another Thoughtful Thursday video. Today's Thoughtful Thursday video is going to be a little bit different than any of my other past videos that I've made. And that is because on the day that I'm posting this video, it is my late grandmother's birthday. She would have been turning 95 this year, but unfortunately she passed away a couple of years ago. And I just wanted to share a tribute to my grandma. So please enjoy this tribute to my grandmother. While I share about my grandma, I will be sharing with you deep cleaning my bedroom for some cleaning motivation as well. So I hope you enjoy both of these things. Unfortunately, on Sunday, February 2nd of 2020, we had to say goodbye to my grandma. She had lived a long and beautiful life. She was 93 years old and suffered from Alzheimer's disease, so it was bittersweet to say goodbye. Grandma was basically like another mother to me. My grandparents lived 10 minutes from our house, so we spent a lot of time over there. Before my grandma was a mother or grandmother, she was a teacher. Even after she retired, she continued to teach us. I wanted to share about my grandmother to honor her. On the day that I post this video, March 17th, would have been her birthday, so I thought it was an appropriate day to share about my grandma. Grandma taught me you don't have to follow a recipe to whip up something with ingredients you have on hand. Or if you were following a recipe and had some missing ingredients, she always knew how to improvise. Not to mention her cooking was amazing. There's just something about Grandma's cooking, right? Almost every Sunday after church, Grandma would host us all for lunch. Our family, which included 5 kids, plus my 2 cousins. I remember she would wear her apron to the dinner table. I always thought that was funny until I became the main cook of our own little family and learned her secret, that an apron is a sly way that an adult woman can wear a bib. Grandma grew up in the South, so it was fried chicken, fried green tomatoes, fried okra, and banana pudding. There was always a feast on Sunday afternoons. Grandma's house was a wonderland for kids. They lived in a big house with a basement where really all the fun happened. They also lived on acreage, including a wooded path behind their home. They had a big red barn where Grandpa did all of his woodworking. And every summer they had a garden and they had a pool too. We spent many summer days over at Grandma and Grandpa's house, picking ripe fruits and vegetables from their garden, swimming in the pool, and slurping popsicles out in the sun on the deck attached to the front of their house. Summer was the best time to spend the night at Grandma's house. She would let us sleep with her. We would balloon up the sheets to make a tent and laugh. With the windows open and the cool summer breeze rushing in through the screen, we would be lulled to sleep by the tune of the bullfrogs and the crickets who lived outside her window. A famous story told in our family is that one time Lorraine, age 6, and Joy, age 4, ran away to Grandma's house. Who doesn't love Grandma's house more than their own? Now, as a mother with my own children, I'm horrified to think about 2 little pairs of legs walking nearly 4 miles to Grandma's house. But don't worry, I apologize to my mom now every time this story comes up. My grandparents raised our cousins, so our plan was to live in Tim's room and he would bring us food. When we arrived on their property, we hid out by the big pine tree at the edge of their front yard. We kept peeking around the tree to see if anyone would see us. We then ran to the next tree a little closer to the house. Grandma caught a glimpse of the flashes racing across her yard. When she came out and saw that it was us, she, of course, immediately called our mom. Drat, the plan to live in Tim's room was up. But she did give us popsicles and let us swim in the pool in our clothes. We were hot after all. I loved writing and poetry when I was younger. Grandma always encouraged me to write a poem or a short story, or just write about your day, what you saw, heard, or felt. A few days after Grandma passed away, I had the urge to deal with all of my teenage angst-ridden journals. I had found them in my closet several months back when I was doing a closet purge, and I had decided then that I was ready to let go of those journals. I didn't want my kids to stumble on these horrible tales of my childhood. I seemed to write only when I had negative feelings, and I wanted to shred those and dispose of them for cathartic purposes anyway. I began the process of shredding, and when I got to the mauve Precious Moments journal and opened the front cover, I saw the beautiful scrawling, which was my grandmother's writing. I ran my fingers over the words, tracing them as I read them. She had given it to me right before I entered high school, and she wrote in the front a sweet poem about keeping record of your days. This journal I noticed I used in a different way than the other journals. The other journals were more of a Dear Diary type scenario, but this journal I wrote. I wrote poems, deep thoughts, and unprocessed, unfiltered feelings. Although the content may still be a little angsty, I decided to keep this journal. The timing was so serendipitous. It was like my grandma was talking to me through the history of words on paper. My grandma was a teacher at heart and never passed up opportunities to teach us. She loved to birdwatch and would teach us about the different birds and different bird calls. When we would walk through the woods across the dilapidated wooden bridge, she would point out different types of trees. One time, I remember collecting leaves, which we would bring home and preserve between 2 sheets of wax paper using an iron to melt the wax. We got out the encyclopedias to look up what type of tree the leaf belonged to. A great way she taught her grandchildren was through travel and learning about other places. Her and my grandfather traveled all over the world. For each of their 7 grandchildren's 5th and 11th birthdays, they took us on a special trip somewhere. I had to share my trips with my cousin Tim because he was the same age as me, which I didn't mind because we were good friends. For our 5th birthday trip, we loaded up the camper and drove to Savannah, Georgia. I don't really remember much from this trip other than a ride on a ferry boat. I also remember walking down the shoreline and finding a huge jellyfish. A photo of my cousin and I squatting over this sea monster is still displayed in her home today. For our 11th birthday trip, we drove all the way down the northeast coast states, starting up in Maine and working our way down. We went to a small fisherman's town in Maine where I learned you don't eat the tails on shrimp. We went to New York City where I saw the first homeless person I had ever seen, was lectured by a woman with a cane on the subway that I should learn manners and give my seat to the elderly, referring to herself, of course, and tried to walk up all the flights of the stairs of the Statue of Liberty because the elevator was broken while we were visiting. Well, at least we made it to her feet. We went to D.C. where we walked past the White House, saw the Capitol building, the Lincoln Memorial, and of course, the mall. We also went to the Smithsonian Museum. Grandma always had funny, made-up songs for everything. She liked to make us giggle. One time, on a trip traveling in her camper, we were sitting in the top bed overlooking the road as Grandpa drove the 5th wheel. We drove through a section on the roadway that was nothing but pine trees across the hillside as far as the eye could see, and she started singing, "Pine trees, pine trees, pine trees, pine trees." Then she paused for a long moment and started this chorus again. We were both rolling with laughter. My college degree is in journalism. I loved writing even when I was very young. I attribute my love for writing and for poetry to my grandmother, who encouraged me in it. Today, I might not have a job using my journalism and writing skills, but over the years, I have written in different capacities, including currently writing blog posts. I thought it apropos to write a tribute to my grandmother. I'll end with a poem that I wrote about my grandma when I was young. This poem is entitled, A Grandma's Love for Nature. I always wondered why Grandma stopped to look at flowers for hours. Why did she want to look at a waterfall? That's all. Or admire a mountain with trees spread across, as if she were lost. Grandma loves to collect shells from the ocean off the sand, just because she can. I always wondered, but now I know, because nature told me so. The story that I just shared with you about my grandmother, I actually wrote this blog post 2 years ago when she passed away, and I can link to the blog post if you'd like to read it, or go visit my website and see the pictures that I posted alongside this story that I told, or the tribute that I told about my grandmother. But I just hope you enjoy this little glimpse into my life as a child and the impact that my grandmother had on me growing up and the impact she has made on who I am today. I also love that March is Women's History Month, and while my grandmother didn't have a prominent place in history as far as the world or the United States goes, she did have a prominent place in my history and definitely developing me into the person that I am today, so I really did want to honor her. I'm so thankful for all of the women in my life, whether it's friends or family members or mentors who have shaped me into the woman that I am today. I've definitely had a lot of influence over the years of my life, and so I just want to honor all women who have been a part of shaping me into the woman I am today. I hope that you'll stick around and watch the rest of this video to get some more cleaning motivation, but thank you so much for listening to the stories about my grandmother. Well, that is all I have for you in today's video. I hope this video gave you some cleaning motivation and was also a little bit entertaining for you today. But I so appreciate you watching this video until the end, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.